First off, let's talk about this receipt assignment. It is optional. Okay, if you are happy with where your grade is right now, you do not have to do this. I understand people learn differently. We have not had a lot of assignments throughout the semester, and we have used tests to assess those things. My reflection on that is the time that you would be spending on doing these extra assignments, you could have been using to study for exams. But I get that. People learn differently, so I have created this. Again, it is optional. If you're happy, if you've done well, you've studied, and you're good with your grade, you do not have to do this assignment. Okay? Other than that, I'll show you what I've got so far. So first off, I'll show you these are the receipts. These are my receipts that I used. What I did is I went through and I broke them down into categories. Now I have an Excel spreadsheet. I'll show you that. But I've got 3 receipts from gas stations. Okay, 3 receipts from the gas stations over here, and then 2 grocery receipts. And then basically what I did. How many of you ever heard of the app called Scan Genius? Basically what you can do, I took a picture of these and it makes it a PDF. Okay, I use it all the time. It's so easy just to, you're like, oh, I can't scan this, and I need to email this to my teacher or whatever. The Scan Genius app, you just take a picture of it, automatically turns it into a PDF, and then you can email it anywhere you want to go, or whoever you want to get it. So that's what this is, a PDF. I do not want your physical receipts. You can make a copy of them, make a copy of them. If you want to take a picture of them and turn it into a PDF, I don't care. I do not want but I do want you to turn those in, just to kind of, I mean, this is worth 65 points. Okay, that's a lot. Okay, and I don't give out freebies, so you're going to earn these if you want to do this. Okay, it's not very difficult, a little time consuming. I've already done most of the work for you. Okay, and I'll show you why. But here's the receipts. Okay, on the spread. There you go. I know I opened it. I did. It was down there. It was hiding from me. Okay, this is going to look a little intimidating. Okay, how many of you are familiar with Excel? Okay, it's actually pretty easy. Don't be afraid of this. Don't worry about this over here, Samuel. You're like, what the heck? I think he had a little bit of an aneurysm when he saw that. These are my formulas for all this stuff over here. Okay, don't worry about this stuff. But basically, anybody want to be a guinea pig right quick? I'll show you how this works. Okay, give me your age there, Adrian.
19.
19 he is. He is male. We're going to... Do males have different body mass index than females do? Yes, they typically have more muscle mass, right? So we have to take that into consideration. So male or female, how tall are you in inches? Or how tall are you?
6'1".
Okay, so you are 73 inches. How much do you weigh?
About $1.90.
Okay, about 90 he said. Now here's the physical activity. I do have a little chart over here. None of you in here are sedentary. The only time that you are sedentary is when you're in a hospital or you're in long-term care. None of you fit that description. Okay? So do not use the 1.2. Most of us will use 1.3 unless you are in the gym 5 days a week working out for an hour. Okay? Then you're going to use the 1.5. Does that make sense? We're going to plug that in right here. How much physical activity do you get in a week? Do you do it more than 5 days a week?
No.
Okay. How about 3?
About 3.
Okay, and then for how much? Like an hour? What are you doing?
Yeah, like an hour.
Okay. I would 1.375. Okay, we'll do that. That's pretty close. I think if Adrian was doing it 5 days a week instead of 3 days a week, we could probably go to a moderate physical activity. Anyway, hit enter. Calculate your BMI for you. So he's in a healthy range. Do you guys remember what that was? Healthy BMI? What is it, Flora?
Oh, no.
You don't?
It was like 21.
Close. Anybody?
18.5 to 24.9.
Very good. 18.5, 24.9 is a healthy BMI. I will talk about a little bit more about that Maybe not today, but I have shared my point of view about the BMI. I don't think it's a good reflection of, well, Adrian. Does Adrian overweight? Because that's what his BMI classifies him as. Okay? So I don't think so. But anyway, it calculates your BMI. For calories, for Adrian, he needs 2,600 calories a day just to maintain his 190 pounds. Out of all of that, that's all I need you to know right now, okay? The rest of this, protein ranges, remember we talked about 45 to 65% of your calories should come from carbohydrates. That's my carbohydrate range. I don't need you to know any of that unless you just want to use that for your own personal, like if Adrian's trying to, build some muscle mass, maybe he needs to look at the maximum amount of grams of protein he needs per day. But other than that, I just need you to know the calories. The ideal body weight, for Adrian, he's like 6 pounds over what he should be. But again, who come up with those guidelines, right? Adrian, observing, looks like a healthy individual, pretty active. So, and what I've done here, so do that. The receipts. Okay, and I showed you that picture and I crossed them all off, so I have all of this stuff broke down for you. When you go into there, it's how many of you, so some of you said you were familiar with this. You can either add it up on your own, separately, going through and adding up on my milk and dairy and then entering that, or you can hit at sum and open up a parentheses and then you can just 12 plus 14 plus 20 plus 19, and then when I hit enter it automatically adds it up for me. That's what that is. Did I just blow somebody's mind? No? It's pretty, does that make sense to everybody? Okay. Do not mess with this stuff over here. Just put your stuff in the yellow places. Okay? Now what I've also done down here for this, I will ask some questions. Kcals, how many calories does he need? It automatically, once you put that information in on the other page, it automatically carries over onto this one. Okay, so I'm really trying to make this easy for you, but there is some input that you need. It's a little bit of a self-reflection. His BMI is a 25, his ideal body weight, I put all that stuff in here. When we get to presenting this or submitting it, you can just highlight and copy onto a Word document if you want to. Okay, because what it's going to look like, if I was to highlight all of this and put it into a Word document. It looks like that. Okay? And that's how I want you to present it to me. I'll have some questions. I'll have some provocative questions to ask you about what you've been able to identify between, and that's why I use the percentages over here. I want you to know, like, what percentage of money are you spending on these things? I think it's good. If we're trying to move forward, we got to know where we're at. Okay, if I'm trying to get to Mississippi, and I have no idea if I'm in, it's a different route if I'm in Missouri, trying to get to Mississippi versus South America. Right, so we need to know where we're at, and that's part of this. Any questions? Okay. Those are posted. Those are posted right here. I will post a rubric to that later, letting you know what I'm looking for. But 65 points. I don't give you guys anything. Okay, you're not giving me anything. I'm not going to give you anything. You darn it. All right. 65 points. That's pretty good. Journal assignment. Where are we at on those? Does anybody need any clarification about the journal assignment? It's okay, we got 3 weeks. 3 weeks left. 3 of them come from the book. Okay, I've given you that reference and I've showed you how to build that for each one. The other 2, 5 total, the other 2 should come from outside. You can use these journals up here or you can use them online, and I have examples and stuff up here for that. Okay? Let's move on. No questions? Good. Okay. We stopped in chapter 10. That's where we're at. Energy for living. Just kind of recap a little bit. Anybody remember what this thing is called? I'm recording this, Adrian, so I got to show people at home. Anybody remember what this is called? Skin fold thickness measurement. We pinch you. Miss Courtney would pinch, and then we measure in several places. And basically, the width of the skin that you're pinching converts to millimeters, and then I can take those millimeters and convert them into body fat percent. Okay, body fat percent. This one we use. Anybody remember what we use? How this works?
Xbox does.
No, it does look like an Xbox controller. Yeah, that's not it. Electrical impedance. Remember those things?
Oh, is that the one that sends shocks to your body?
Yes. Yeah, you're not going to feel it, right? This one does the same thing. Okay, this one does the same thing. I'd imagine. I didn't have any instruction with this one. That's why I was asking for the 9-volt battery, so we can do this. If you guys want to do this in class, this will be some of the points going towards that. But if you generally want to know what your body fat percent is, we can do that. You don't have to share it with the class, okay? But if you want to know, knowing is half the battle, right? Remember G.I. Joe? Okay. Anyway, sorry. Kind of giving my age here. But we have a couple ways that we can measure these things. We talk about underwater weighing. Remember this one? Okay, underwater weighing. We know that lean muscle mass weighs more than fat does. Fat floats on top of water, so this gives us an idea. It's not convenient because not everybody has a pool they can go weigh themselves in or has access to one. Here's the DXA, basically an X-ray. It is accurate, but the problem is it's like a unicorn. Nobody's ever seen one. Never seen one. I've been doing this for 10 years now. I've been in several facilities. Never seen one of those. Never seen one of these. Bod pod. Much like the water displacement, this is air displacement. I have no idea how this works. Because they measure the volume of air inside this egg, and then you sit in it, and then they measure the volume of air again. I don't know how that works. I don't understand that. The water I can get behind. This one I do not. And again, she looks terrified. She's like, I'm going to a different planet or something. Nobody's ever going to see me again. But I've never seen one of these either. Okay, probably it says that it's accurate, but I've never seen one. Bod pod, but that would be bod pod air displacement matching question. Okay, electrical impedance. That's what these little tools have. The little aluminum helps transmit electricity through your body because fat is not a good conductor. Okay, so what this does is it sends electricity through your body with using water and electrolytes as a conductor, and that gives you an idea of what your body fat percent. I did mine yesterday. My BMI, I'm not afraid to tell you, my BMI is a 33. I'm considered obese. Okay, you can call me what you want. I have thick skin and no heart or feelings, so I don't mind being called obese. But my body fat percent is a little bit above healthy. It's at 28, and what's the healthy guidelines? No, it's 38. What's the healthy guidelines for body fat percent for men? Anybody remember? 23 to 31. Here's the skin fold thickness measurement. Body fat 13 to 21. I said that wrong. 13 to 21 for men. And mine's 28, not 38. And then women 23 to 31. Remember those. Okay. What percent of adults are obese in the United States? Anybody remember? 42%. Remember that one? What about children? Anybody remember what the percent of obese children in the United States was in 15, 16?
53.
Not quite that high. 18.5.
I figured it'd be high for kids.
It is. It is. I mean, that's 6 years ago. Yeah. I mean, 18.5%. Almost 1 out of every 5 children, 2 to 19 years old, is obese. So how do we calculate our needs? 1, one, I just showed you, okay, that spreadsheet. That's an easy way to do that. Okay, the other way, we're going to use Adrian since Adrian gave us his weight already. How am I going to convert? First of all, we need to convert his weight into kilograms. How would I do that?
Divided by 2.2.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, divide by 2.2. What is it? Anybody know?
Not exactly.
It's probably around 90, 80 something.
86.36.
Okay, Adrian weighs 86.36 kilograms. Now, based upon calculating our energy needs, one, you can use Mifflin St. George was the calculations that we used on that spreadsheet. That's one way. That's the one that I use the most in clinical settings. We can do this one. So formula for men is 1 kcal per kilogram. So he needs 86 calories per hour. Now multiply that by 24. Multiply 86 times 24. Because that's what it says. There's 24 hours in a day. We need to know our daily caloric intake.
2064.
2064. Now, do you remember what it was when we did it on the calculation? Anybody remember? I think it was like 27, wasn't it? So you can see a difference. Hey, that's 24 hours. Are you awake 24 hours? No. Does your metabolism change when you're sleeping? Yes. Okay, so obviously we could probably cut that back, but that's even less than what it was for the other calculations. I mean, we talked about 700 calories a difference. That's huge. That's a pound every 5 days. That's a pound that Adrian would gain every 5 days. So make sure that make sure we're using the right tools, okay? If you want to use this one, I don't have a problem with it. If you're going to do that assignment, you're already going to be doing those things anyway. I would rather you just use that one, but you can use this in women. You're not going to be much far off of it, 0.9. Okay, not far off that. Physical activity. I had a student ask me, which one burns the most, or how do they know how much calories we're burning when we're on the treadmill? Some nerd sitting around came up with some kind of algorithm and time and how fast you're running. Okay, cycling 15 miles per hour for about 30 minutes is 408 calories approximately. That's pretty good if you ask me. I mean, for 30 minutes, running or jogging at a steady pace, 6 miles per hour. That's not terribly fast. When I was running, I kind of calculated it based upon the tracker that I was using. I could run 2 miles at about a 10-minute pace, and I would burn about 600 calories, 700 calories. Okay, but what's the difference between cycling and running? I mean, obviously there's more resistance when you run, right? It's tougher. I think you could probably do this longer, burn more calories. But if you don't like doing that, you just like to sit at home and sew, you're still burning calories. Is that something you do often, Samuel? No. Sewing is an art. I had lost some buttons one time, not on this shirt, but I sewed my buttons back on in this. She was younger. I was older in my internship class. She's like, "You sewed your button back on your shirt?" I'm like, "You don't?" Like, I don't even know how to do that. Life skills. I don't go buy new pants when I get holes in them. I sew them up. What?
So we were brought up in different towns.
That's right. No, that's very true. That's very true. Do what?
My grandma taught me.
What?
She goes, "You don't sew your clothes?"
How?
Dude, I sew my clothes all the day.
Yeah, I've actually thought about taking it to the next level and making my own, but then I don't know about that one. No.
Well, that's too much work.
Yeah, I think so. But anyway, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, NEAT. Remember that one refers to involuntary skeletal muscle activity. That is physical activity that a person does not consciously control. Sitting here, Adrian's fidgeting, moving his legs, tapping his foot, you're burning energy. Not even really thinking about it, right? Those things happen. We expend about 700 calories a day just shivering, fidgeting, maintaining muscle tone, maintaining body posture. Okay, just sitting up, 700 calories. Kind of impressive, huh? Thermic effect of food, remember this one, TEF, about 5 to 10% of our caloric intake when you drink. Well, obviously not, you're not getting anything out of that water, but when they got a milkshake over here, when Heather drinks that milkshake, 5 to 10% of the total calories that she gets from that is TEF. It's energy spent to digest foods and beverages. Okay? That's what that is. There is this little thing, putting it all together. The Food and Nutrition Board of Institute of Medicine has a personal dietary analysis at the end of this chapter. That spreadsheet that I gave you a while ago, essentially the same thing. Okay? So how does this work? Energy intake, energy output. If my output is higher than my intake, what's going to happen?
You get weight. I'll see about the other way.
So what's going to happen?
If the output's greater than the intake, I mean, you're going to burn more calories than needed.
Okay, good. Yeah, so imagine a bank account, right? Imagine this being a bank account. If I'm putting more money in than I'm spending, my bank account gets bigger, right? So does my waistline. Not with money, obviously. But that's what happens. If my intake is higher than my output, I will gain weight. If my output is higher than my intake, I should lose weight. Okay, should lose weight. What if they're equal? What happens?
Healthy.
Balance. Nothing. Yeah, healthy. Healthy. So remember, negative. If it's a negative output, if this is less than the intake, you will gain weight. Okay? If you have a negative energy balance, you will gain weight. Kind of like just use your bank account as an example. Hey, this kind of gives you an idea. Here's energy balance. This guy, intake is 3,000, outtake is 3,000, no change in his weight. Positive energy balance, 4,000, intake is more than output, weight gain. Okay? Pretty quick little section. Classifying overweight and obesity. Moving forward with this, so we talk about, remember that healthy BMI, 18.5 to 24.9? If you can just remember 1925. Okay, 1925, I will not put 1925 as an option on the exam. It will be 18.5 to 24.9, but it's probably much easier to remember 1925 than these decimals. So, BMI range 30 to 39, those people are considered obese. That's where I'm at in that range. Anybody remember? We talked about this. Why was the BMI invented?
Insurance people.
Insurance people. Yeah. If you have a higher BMI, are you more at risk for chronic conditions?
Yes.
Yes. Which means I charge you more on your insurance. Kind of like driving. If I have a bunch of wrecks, am I going to get a cheap insurance? No, because I'm high risk. That's why they come up with this. So they can charge people differently. Here's my problem with this. Muscle is denser than fat, therefore many muscular people have BMIs in the overweight range. That's me. I'm a muscular guy. Don't laugh at me.
No, that's me too. But mine was what? Like, on mine, it said I was like 40.
40?
Like, yeah. I don't know.
Well, but here's the deal though.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna,
3.
what?
3 on mine. I'm pretty sure I messed up so.
Oh, I'm pretty sure you did too. There's a BMI of 3. I mean, your bones weigh more
I
than
guess
that.
I'm dead inside, apparently. I think I messed with the height.
So how do I? Sorry.
You good?
How do I get my BMI? Okay. Anybody want to do this? I'm going to turn the camera so that people at home can see this real quick. Maybe. We'll get Samuel in there. I'll just move it closer. That way Samuel's on the picture. Okay. So, there's the formula for the BMI. Your weight in pounds divided by height in inches. Take that number divided by height in inches again. Multiply by 703. Okay, if we was to take 190 and divide it by 73, divided by 73, and then multiply by 703, it would be 25, which is what we got from Adrian earlier, right? But like Flora just mentioned, she mentioned that her BMI was a little bit higher. Do women have more muscle mass than men, generally speaking? Women don't. Men have more muscle mass. Does this BMI formula identify whether you're male or female? No. So I'm just going to tell you right now, Ms. Flora, that BMI is not accurate for you. It's also not accurate for me. Okay? What other factors impact our metabolism, which means how we can, our BMI? What other factors in here? Does it take into our age? We know that at a certain age, our muscle starts to deteriorate and decline. That does not take into consideration age, gender. Okay, doesn't take into consideration any of the whether you're an athlete. None of that. It's just basically a reflection of your weight versus your height. That's all that is. Okay, I've come up with. I'll share that because we're in a good spot right here. I've actually come up with some extras on this. Hopefully one day you guys will see me famous for changing this, because I think it's a good tool, but I think it could be better. So how can we improve on this? So if my let's say Adrian's BMI is 25, okay, puts him in the overweight category. How do we improve on that? So what I've done is does this BMI accurately describe Adrian? I don't think he's overweight. Is anybody else? I wouldn't. Okay. So one, is it okay? I would ask this question. These are my my intake on how to. I came up with this. I said I know I don't have a life and whatever, but I sat here and I really put some thought into this because I think it could be better. So is this accurate? If it's not, okay, then that would lead us into other questions. But he would earn a value of 0.05, and I've given it this for reasons. Okay, so no, it's not accurate. Okay, that BMI for Adrian is not accurate, so he automatically gets a value. Is he male? Yes. He also gets another 0.5 value. You'll see these values here in just a second. But these things are tangible. Is this accurate? And that's more of a subjective, but obviously if I have an athlete in here and the BMI is a 30, that's not accurate. So I think if it leads us to us, if you're female, sorry, you don't get credit, because we're trying to create some separation between body mass index. Waist. Okay, I can tell you that for men, if your waist is over 40 inches, then you're at risk. As long as his waist is under 40 inches, he gets a value of 0.05. The other one that we can measure is the waist to hip ratio. And as long as that is within a safe range, he can get that credit as well. Now, so here's the BMI. If we multiply by 1, it's the same number. But if I subtract all these values, it becomes 0.8. Multiply 25 times 0.8 for me, Adrian. 20. Now he's healthy. Sounds like it would work, right? There obviously has to be some testing behind this, but that's my theory. Taking this BMI, making it a little bit more accurate and more personal. Okay? We calculate needs. We don't say that Hannah and Reagan, both of them need 1,800 calories just like Heather does, right? 3 different heights, 3 different people, 3 different energy needs. Why aren't we spending more time making sure that this stuff is individualized as well? We talk about individual care and healthcare anyway, right? We don't treat populations, we treat individuals. Okay? That's my take on this. You're not going to be tested over it, and I'll just fill your brain with a bunch of nonsense or whatever. Maybe you thought that was interesting, but I thought I'd share that with you. Any questions? Okay. That is not. There we go. Okay. Moving forward, we're on page 399. I believe we're at classifications. Excess body fat, BMIs greater than 25, have increased risk of type 2 diabetes, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, based upon the BMI before I shared that stuff with you. Okay? At 25, I mean, that's overweight. Right? I mean, yes, overweight does increase the risk of type 2 diabetes. That's not, I mean, we've talked about that quite a bit. Here's the formula for that. Weight in pounds divided by height in inches 2 times, that's the square, times 703. Look, sometimes the things that the BMI does not take into consideration, our ethnic groups. Percentage of each group, almost 50% of non-Hispanic blacks have a higher rate of obesity. Hispanic Americans, non-Hispanic whites, non-Hispanic Asians. So even our genetics can play a role in our body mass index. Overweight and obesity increases the risk of all of these. We've talked about this quite a bit. Some things we have: infertility, ovarian syndrome. We know that excess weight can cause inflammation as well. When we look at that and how that's distributed and why those things impact our bodies, the results of medical research suggest that the distribution of excess body fat has a closer association with those obesity-related diseases. Why? Where are our organs? Are our organs in our legs? No. Are they in our arms? They're right here. So when we gain weight, we're also putting on weight around our organs, and if you can imagine a straitjacket, they're not able to work properly. Blood's not able to circulate very well. You're not able to receive those electrodes, okay, those neurological signals that our body uses to communicate. We lose some effect of that. Okay? Women, pear-shaped, typically in the hip region is where they do gain hips, thighs. That area, men, apple-shaped, more upper torso area. Remember, the visceral fat is behind abdominal muscles and in front of the intestines. Okay, that visceral fat does cause inflammation, but that's why it has such an impact on our body. Central obesity is characterized by a large amount of visceral fat. I mentioned earlier waist circumference. I do have the tools to do that, so if you wanted to get a little bit more accurate on that one, I mean, I don't think that your waist is over 40, Adrian, so I think we were pretty accurate on that one. But this was a tough one for me, because when we were doing this in my internship, we need to measure your waist, and they come over and try to measure my waist. Men, do you wear your pants at your belly button? I don't either, so I don't measure my waist there, but to be accurate, we should. Okay, you should be measuring your waist. It should be at the top of the iliac crest here, and right above your navel, if I'm measuring my waist correctly. Women, I think it's a little bit different for you ladies. Probably used to that. If I was going to do a waist to hip ratio, I would measure my waist, and I would measure the circumference of my hips. And if it's outside the healthy range, you have increased risk of cardiovascular disease, diabetes. Waist to hip ratio probably doesn't affect men as much, but I think that's a tangible, objective measurement that we can use to help better calculate BMIs. What causes overweight and obesity? Anybody? Yeah. But what about food? What causes overweight and obesity?
More input than output.
More input than output. Could it be genetic?
Possibly.
Very well could be. Although an excess intake of calories, like Adrian said, in relation to calorie output causes weight gain, there is no simple cause of obesity. To lose weight, a person needs to create a negative energy state by eating fewer calories. It doesn't work for everybody. It doesn't work for everybody. You know, the psychological factors that help determine these things. Eating behaviors is complex and largely involves interactions among the nerves, among the nervous, endocrine, and digestive system. Remember we talked about those feelings of hunger. Okay, when I get hungry, it comes from the stomach, and that's called ghrelin. Okay, ghrelin is the hormone. I want you to remember that one. Ghrelin is the hormone secreted by the stomach, stimulating hunger. Okay, it is an uncomfortable feeling that drives a person to consume other people. That's what that should say. Hangry. Y'all were like, what? Cannibalism? No. No. When you get hungry, it's an uncomfortable feeling that drives a person to consume food. It is caused by ghrelin in the stomach. Now, once we eat and we get that feeling of fullness, we call that satiety. Nobody says that. Okay, Courtney didn't go out to eat with her friends the other night like, I'm satiety. Nobody says that. Okay, but that's what that means. Satiety is the sense of enough food. And here's the problem. How much time do we get to eat? When was the last time you timed yourself at how long it took you to eat?
I have a 30-minute break, and I finished maybe half my bowl in like 15, 20 minutes, and I was like, disgusting.
Okay. Okay, so 15 minutes, maybe 30-minute break?
Yeah.
Okay.
We had 10 minutes in basic.
I was about to say, you being military, you didn't have any time. I just get it down and get it out of there, right?
Yeah.
What else? Anybody else? Anybody take more than 30 minutes to eat? Nobody?
I mean, sometimes when I'm not on a break.
When you're not on a break, when you're normal? Did you know it takes 15 minutes for your stomach to tell your brain that I'm full?
That's how you lose weight if you eat slower. That's how you lose weight.
I've talked about writing a book, and I've played with some names of the book, and one of my favorite ones, just because it's a little provocative, is called Fork the Spoon. And the reason I say that is because theoretically, if you take less spoon, regardless of the size of the, I mean, obviously if it was a heaping spoon or the size of the spoon, but if you normally, right now, if I counted how many spoons I put in my mouth, or forks, if I was able to reduce the amount of forks or spoons, would I not be restricting my calories? That sounds like, I mean, I think to reach more people with these things and talking about behaviors and changing some of those for the better to improve health and their weight, I think you got to find a way to make it easy for people because that's what they want, right? We want a pill to solve everything. I wish there was. I would take the red pill. Okay? I would take the red pill. Lawrence Fishburne would not have to give it to me, buddy. What? Yeah. So ghrelin comes from the stomach. Hunger, feeling of fullness is satiety. We know that leptin, I'm not going to test you over that one again, but leptin helps break down lipids and fats. Okay. Hypothalamus is the one that that communicates all of this stuff right here. So that kind of gives you a little bit of a picture. Gut microbiota, we have talked about that a lot. We haven't really talked about the digestive system since 4.3 at the beginning of the semester. But we have talked about how our intestines can help drive some of our food choices. If I eat a lot of sugary substances, I have a higher balance of candidus bacteria in my intestines, which means I continue to crave sweeter foods. Okay, for me to change some of those things, I got to change my gut microbiota. Okay, such microbes normally reside in the human intestines tract, primarily the large intestines. Yes, Heather.
So if you for the majority of your life, you eat a lot of spicy foods and spicy treats, is that why when you do eat something sweet, it disgusts you?
I don't know, because I ate a lot of spicy food.
Yeah.
Like, there's a threshold. I was in Nashville and they had it was Hattie B's. Anybody ever heard of that? Hattie B. Go eat it. It's just chicken. If you're going to go in there and eat a hamburger, you're not going to get a hamburger. It's just chicken. Just chicken. But they have a spice. It's called Cluckin' Hot, is what it was called. It was the hottest one. Yeah, I mean, pretty creative, right?
Yeah.
And it was hot. It was hot, but it had a good flavor to it, and that was probably like I got a little bit of a sweat. I didn't cry or nothing because I'm a guy. But there's a threshold. I do like spicy food, so I can't relate to that thinking that sweets because I like chocolate covered raisins.
Well, yeah, but like when you eat like not like a tiramisu or anything like that, but like a really like chocolatey thing.
Like fudge.
Yes.
I can't.
So you get disgusted with
I
it? Like,
a
I
bite.
feel like
A
I
bite,
have
like-
diabetes just eating it.
Yeah, well, some of those things it's just.
I feel my blood sugar rise.
No, I understand. I see where you're going with that. So, do I eat those? Do I eat cake? Yeah, I eat birthday cake. But I mean, like they're.
Like, do you find the frosting too sweet?
Yes.
Kind of
Yes, but I don't think it's related to eating spicy foods.
thing? Yeah. Or is it just like preference and Okay.
Yeah.
So cigarette smokers, is this where that comes into play? Like the gut micro?
Well, no, a little different. It's a good question. Smokers. So what happens is when you smoke, it numbs your taste buds and suppresses your appetite. So you don't eat. So a lot of people, when they quit smoking, whoa, they do. They do gain a lot of weight. A couple of reasons though, not just because they quit smoking, but because they're replacing one habit with another, and that other habit is providing way more calories than that cigarette was. That's usually what happened. And that's why they gain weight. It has nothing to do with the gut microbiota. It's more about because that nicotine just numbs the taste buds. Yep. And suppresses appetite. So a person's diet is one of many factors that influence microbial diversity in your intestinal tract. We've mentioned intestinal dysbiosis before, but I'll double check on the exam, but I don't think there's a question on there, but I'll double check. Ultra-processed foods. Most Americans consume a wide variety of refined, processed, and ultra-processed foods. Some medical researchers are concerned about the possible unhealthy effects that may occur as a result of eating diets that contain high amounts of ultra-processed foods. Thank you. That's some should be all. Like, I don't understand that. Many researchers use the NOVA system to classify processed foods. I think this is a question. It doesn't. I don't see it telling us what NOVA means, but the NOVA system classifies processed foods. An ultra-processed diet contains a lot of energy-dense foods, which are high in unhealthy fats, refined starches, added sugars, and salt. So not good. And I don't know why more instead of many or all researchers should agree to that. But anyway. Here's a little section on fructose. Fructose, we get that from, it is often added to ultra-processed foods and beverages to sweeten them. Where do we get fructose from?
Fruits.
Yeah. Why don't you just eat a fruit? Just eat a piece of fruit. I got some apples in my office if you want one. I do. I have Granny Smith apples in my office. What the heck is going on here? Genetic factors, we have said that many times before. They play a major role in developing of obesity. Physical characteristics are inherited, including your metabolic rate. Does not mean that you can't change that. Okay, you have to be mindful of it. Know where I'm at now. Know where I'm at today, so I know where I need to be tomorrow. Okay. Set point theory. I'm going to stop there because I do want to spend some time on this a little bit. Set point theory. I talk about it a lot, especially when I was involved with the bariatric sleep program, because I think there is a lot of validity to this. I think it's a theory because we haven't been able to identify exact specific number, and I'll explain Friday when we talk about the set point theory. But that's what we'll do today. any questions?
When is the extra point thing?
Oh, the
receipt.
receipt assignment? The same week they were turning our judgment, that last week in April. Okay? If you want to turn it into me early, I don't have a problem with that.